Hi there, this is Pete May, and we're here live on GreenBiz Studio. I'm with Kevin Self, Senior Vice President for Strategy and Government Policy at Schneider Electric. Kevin, great to see you here today.
Pete, as always, great seeing you as well, virtually this time.
Right, right. Yeah, so, we Verge, is an event that goes back several years, and Schneider has been a partner of ours, Schneider Electric, on and off for Verge over the years. And I think what's always struck me is, the ethos of Verge is that we're trying to bring together these different systems into kind of an ecosystem approach of melding transportation, energy, and these other issues, carbon. And so Schneider Electric's always been a fascinating company. It's actually been kind of playing this out in the market. And I'm wondering, I saw the other day that you had an announcement of a partnership you have with, is it PACCAR, in the charging infrastructure space. So it sounded very Verge-esque. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. And once again, thanks for being on, and maybe just even the backdrop, right? So Schneider Electric, we're a 180 plus year old company, and to your point, Pete, very much are on the leading edge of the world becoming more digital, the world becoming more electric, and also at the same time, especially with what's happening in California, the world needing to become much more resilient. And so we see, resiliency, efficiency, sustainability, all playing out together, and it's really assisted by how things are becoming much more digital and connected. And the interesting story with PACCAR is they're a 100 plus year old company, and a lot of people don't know the PACCAR name, but they know what they make. In the US, they make Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks. So a lot of the trucks that we all see out on the expressways are by PACCAR, and we'd started talking to them a year and a half ago, and they were being asked by their customers, who were themselves making commitments on going carbon neutral. And if all you do is move things around and you don't have a lot of buildings to decarbonize, you need to decarbonize your fleet. And so we started talking with PACCAR, and we're very happy to have announced about 3 weeks ago a partnership across the US along with Faith Technologies, another great partner of ours, where we're going to work across PACCAR's 700 or so dealers to work with them as they become more carbon neutral. And as they start having customers come to them and switch from diesel trucks to electric trucks. And once you do that, there's also the question of, how am I going to electrify these things? And what's the process to do that? So very happy to have just launched this partnership.
Yeah, so that's very interesting, Kevin. I don't know if you saw just this morning, the state of California made an announcement with Governor Newsom's initiatives around clean transportation. There was a $384 million grant, I think, that was awarded. So, that's very topical. When people think of electrification of vehicles, they think of passenger vehicles, but I think you've highlighted, we see that one really important part to move is the commercial side. Can you elaborate a little bit on that with what you're doing with PACCAR?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because you're right. When people think about the electrification of transportation, most of us visualize an automobile. And to your point, the vehicles that are really taking a lot of miles, especially during COVID, where we all see the Amazon, FedEx, UPS trucks run multiple times through our neighborhood, it's these fleets. And so it's the fleets that PACCAR sells to. People have seen Amazon's announcements and in their ads where they're going to try to put 185,000 EVs on the road. And so as these fleets continue to move towards their own carbon neutral end scenarios, they need great assistance, putting EV charging in place. It's interesting, I did the research, and in 1905, the very first gas station showed up in the US. I think it was in Missouri. So in some ways, for EVs, we're in sort of 1905 or maybe 1907, trying to understand what's going to be the flow. Do all these vehicles leave their site and come back at night to roost and they can plug in there, or do they need to plug in along the way, or do they go across country? And so, this is the time where a lot of these problems are being laid out. and solutions are starting to come forth, and we're very happy to be working with PACCAR and Faith Technologies to try to work towards providing these solutions.
Yeah, that's great. And, so many of our partners at Verge, FedEx, UPS, you mentioned Amazon are struggling with this, the state of California. So it's great you're diving in there. The other thing that I thought was fascinating when I read about this partnership is, I mentioned at Verge, we like to be about creating an ecosystem and not just silos, but it's interesting if I look at Verge Energy, probably the singular biggest topic within that space, along with renewables, obviously, has been distributed energy and microgrids. And then there's Verge Energy over here. Singular biggest focus, obviously, is electrification and EVs. But it sounds like there's some meshing of your capacity and microgrids with EVs, if I understand this correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. So a year and a half ago, we launched a joint venture called Alpha Structure with the Carlyle Group, and the intent there was to use, Carlyle's balance sheet and their partners, their financing partners, to really bring energy as a service solutions to organizations that or entities that may not want to or have the capital to deploy. And the first biggest example we're doing with Alpha Structure and Carlyle is the redevelopment of JFK Terminal One. It's been
Hmm.
slowed down a bit because of COVID, but
I've been
ultimately,
slowed down a bit in that airport in past. That is a beast of a of a location to try to navigate. So more power to you on that.
it is. Look, once it's complete, we believe it's going to be one of the top three airports in the U.S., one of the top in the world. It'll ultimately be running completely on renewable energy. There'll ultimately be about 10 plus microgrids on site. The desire is when the planes come in, they turn off their engines, with whether they're heating or cooling, and connect up to the airport, where they'll be powered by renewable energy, by clean energy. And so that was our great first start. And it was interesting. What Alpha Structure did was open the eyes of many other companies, maybe smaller, and many other small and medium-sized buildings who also had similar interests, but not to that scale. And so also last month, we launched a partnership with Huck Capital called Green Structure. And Green Structure's intent is to also provide energy as a service solutions to typically small and mid-size commercial buildings, where they may not need the scale of an Alpha Structure, but still need assistance on the capital expense. And they are focused around microgrids. So to get back to your original question, in our world, this all did start with microgrids years ago in growing that business. But then you start seeing the extensions and the needs, and there's intimate links into EV charging infrastructure, where in certain locations, microgrids will be very important.
Yeah, that's great. Well, as we come to a close here, I was struck as I looked through some of Schneider Electric's literature. You talk about cost efficiency, or cost-effective solutions, resilience, and decarbonization. And it seems like it's always been, I would say, with traditionalists and in the energy space, it's always been, well, those are, it's great. You could do one of these things. You can't do all three of these things. Tell us a little bit about how you're approaching that. The fact that I think you're dealing head on with the fact that we're in a world where we need all three of those: decarbonization, resilience, and cost effectiveness. Talk a little bit about that.
You're right. It's also how we go to market, right? In a lot of cases, we are going with partners, with Huck Capital, with PACCAR, with Faith Technologies, with Carlyle Group. The days of going it independently and just providing a disparate solution in our minds is probably more over than not. And to your point, customers are asking, not just give me one of those, but give me all three.
Right.
Provide me the resilience, and I want the sustainability at the right cost. And so what we're finding is we get the right set of partners to work with, and we're able to provide solutions that meet the needs that are changing. It's very different today than it even was 5 years ago. And we believe going forward, the amount of infrastructure that needs to be deployed in the US in the coming years is huge. And we think customers are going to want us all for with that: cost, sustainability, and resiliency.
Yeah, I love that. And it's at Verge, we're all about like dreaming about how we're going to change the paradigm. At the same time, we're all about really practical solutions and getting to the hard business of how we move markets. it's always great to catch up with you and see what new and innovative things Schneider Electric is doing in this space. Kevin Self, Schneider Electric, great chatting with you as always, and look forward to seeing you at Verge.
Great, Pete. Thanks for having us on as well. Very happy to be here.